Some things went down over the weekend that we gotta talk about. We gotta talk about Kevin Durant and the Brooklyn Nets and how I think their season could go next year when he returns. We also gotta talk about the New York Knicks apologizing after getting blown out by the Cleveland Cavaliers. That plus a few other games. And then we gotta wrap up talking about OG Anunoby, the Toronto Raptors, and answering the question, is this dude the next Kawhi Leonard? But that's what we gotta take a look at today. But with that out of the way, what is up, guys? It's me, Zachary. How y'all doing? Hope you're having a fantastic day no matter what part of the world you might be watching this from. You guys already know the drill. Go ahead and smack, destroy, annihilate that like button, as it does help the channel grow. But not only that, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with post notifications turned on so you don't miss out on more videos like this every Monday through Friday. That is 5 days a week. That's enough talking though. Let's get into everything that we gotta talk about today. Let's get it, let's go. The first thing that we gotta talk about in our weekend recap is actually quite unfortunate. It's news that when it hit my phone over the weekend, my heart sank. I felt so bad for the guy because I just spent a couple of the last videos I made talking about how great he was, and he was doing great things for his team as well. And this player is Gordon Hayward, as he broke his hand during the second quarter of the Celtics game against the San Antonio Spurs. Now, I do have a couple of good things to mention when it comes to that. First off is that Boston was still able to win that game over San Antonio in a big way. And not only that, even though this Gordon Hayward injury is unfortunate and you hate to see the guy go down with a broken hand right as he was starting to get back in rhythm and regain his all-star form, it's not the worst injury in the world. He will be back this season, and honestly, compared to the injury that he suffered a couple of years back with his ankle, this is light work. The other thing that we gotta talk about for this weekend though is D'Angelo Russell. Now, the Golden State Warriors haven't been winning. Of course, we all know this. They don't have Stephen Curry, they don't have Klay Thompson, they don't have Draymond Green, and they just got D'Angelo Russell back. And he came back. He came back in a very big way. Dropped 52 points against the Minnesota Timberwolves in a loss, and then followed that up with a 30-point night against the OKC Thunder. Back-to-back nights, D'Angelo Russell scoring a combined 82 points. He was magnificent to watch this weekend. The thing that I was thinking about in regards to this and D'Angelo Russell was how much trade value is this guy going to have at the end of the season? Without Stephen Curry for a large portion of the season, without Klay Thompson for the entirety of the season, without Draymond Green for who knows how long, D'Angelo Russell is going to be looking very, very good for the Golden State Warriors. He's going to be scoring a lot of points because their offense is going to be running solely through D'Angelo Russell. And this is a guy who is still very young. Made his first All-Star appearance last year, and there are a lot of teams out there who would be dying to get their hands on D'Lo. Now, I know the Warriors said that they're not even convinced that they're going to trade D'Angelo Russell at any point, but for the return that the Warriors could get, I'm just saying it still might happen. Keep your eyes out. Now though, we gotta talk about some of the things that went down in the NBA yesterday. And one of the games that I was looking forward to watching last night was the Phoenix Suns versus the Brooklyn Nets. We were gonna have Devin Booker and Kyrie Irving, two of the hottest players in the league up till this point of the season, going at it. I thought that this could be a scoring battle, that this could be a really fun game to watch. Turns out that it wasn't that bad of a game to watch just because I got to watch the Phoenix Suns play some beautiful basketball. They were out there moving the ball, sharing the ball, everyone was getting involved, and the Phoenix Suns played a terrific game that resulted in the Brooklyn Nets getting blown out 138 to 112, the final score. Devin Booker, 27 points and 9 assists on the night. Get this. He was 10 of 14 from the field and 3 of 4 from 3. One thing that I have been massively impressed by Devin Booker so far this year is just how he's letting the game come to him. He's not trying to control the offense, he's not trying to dictate anything. He's just letting the game come to him, because it would be so easy for a lot of players, especially younger players, since Devin Booker is still a young player, to get caught up in the fact that they're 10 of 14 from the field, 4 or 5 from 3, 3 or 4 from 3, and then just start heaving shots and kind of messing up the flow of the offense. Devin Booker hasn't done that yet this season. Even when he had his 40-point night, he was still playing just within the flow of the offense. The guy just has been missing this year. Another player I want to give a shout out to, though, is Ricky Rubio. I definitely misjudged how big of an addition he would be to this Phoenix Suns team, because the turnaround that we are seeing so far this year has a lot to do with the Ricky Rubio. He's been magnificent at distributing the ball and finding the open guy, but not only that, he's able to score his own points and he plays defense. He's a big part of why the Suns have been such a better defensive team this year. So huge shout out to Ricky Rubio too. But now for the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think anyone was expecting them to win a championship this year. No one was, especially with Kevin Durant out. They got Kyrie Irving, but still you're not going to win a championship with just Kyrie Irving. All right, Kyrie Irving, as much as I love him as a player, and he is one of my favorite players to watch in the entire NBA. If there's ever a time or a chance I get to watch Kyrie Irving play, I'm watching Kyrie Irving play. But with that being said, I don't think anyone in the league can say that this is a guy that you would feel comfortable being your best player on a championship level team. And that's not to say that Kyrie Irving isn't a magnificent player. It's not to say that at all. But I'm just saying that he does not seem like the guy on a championship team. He can't be that guy. That's not who Kyrie Irving is. He's probably one of the best number twos in the league. I think he's one of the best secondary players on a championship team, and there is nothing wrong with that. And because of that, and because Kyrie Irving doesn't have Kevin Durant this year, I still have the Brooklyn Nets making the playoffs. I'd be shocked if they were to miss the playoffs, but I don't see them finishing any higher than like the 6th seed in the East. And with that being said, with the Brooklyn Nets potentially ending up as the 6th seed or lower, I think that this is going to be the time that Kevin Durant comes back next year after missing the entire year, after everyone in the NBA and outside of the NBA, the fans, seeing what the Brooklyn Nets were like without Kevin Durant last year, when he comes back. And if, which we all expect they should be, the Brooklyn Nets truly do become championship contenders, then Kevin Durant's value to a team will once again be seen. Because let's be real here, the past few years when Kevin Durant was with the Golden State Warriors, when he elected to join the number 1 team in basketball, the team that finished with a 73-9 record, Kevin Durant's value to a team could not be seen as much as it could have been if he were to have joined a team like the Boston Celtics back then, or stayed with the OKC Thunder, joined any other team in the league for that matter, and then catapulted them into championship contention. Kevin Durant has a chance to reinstate himself in the NBA next year, because a lot of people don't view Kevin Durant as a champion yet. Let's keep it real. The guy has 2 rings, but how many people are giving him credit for those 2 rings? Well, once again, he joined the 73-9 Golden State Warriors. Well, with the Brooklyn Nets this upcoming year, after we all see that the Brooklyn Nets indeed would not be championship contenders without him, when Kevin Durant comes back and makes them a championship contender, that is when we will see people start to believe in Kevin Durant once again. I was getting a little worked up there, I feel. I'm supporting Kevin Durant. I'm a big supporter of Kevin Durant. I like Kevin Durant, actually. And I'm hoping to see him do good next year. But that being said, we gotta talk about some other things today. And if I was getting worked up talking about Kevin Durant, what comes next, I do not know, because now we have to talk about the New York Knicks. We gotta talk about the Nets and then the Knicks. One team has a bright future and should be championship contenders next year. The other team just had to send out an apology to its fans after getting blown out by the Cleveland Cavaliers last night. First off, the Cavs, 108-87 win over New York in New York. The Knicks got blown out by the Cleveland Cavaliers in their home, in the Garden. Colin Sexton, 31 points, and after this loss, the Knicks are just 2 2-8 on the year. And like I said, as the result of this loss and this 2-8 start, the Knicks GM had to hold an emergency press conference afterwards. And this is what he had to say. We felt that we had an obligation to come and speak to you guys. Obviously, Scott and I are not happy with where we are right now. We think the team is not performing to the level that we anticipated or we expected to perform at, and that's something that we collectively had to do a better job of delivering the product on the floor that we said we would at the start of the season. We still believe in our coaching staff. We believe in the plan Scott and I have put together and the players that we have assembled, but we also have to acknowledge that we haven't played at the level we expected to play at. We have to find a way to play complete games at the level we expect our team to play at. That's a responsibility that we take collectively, but I also think it's important for us to communicate to our fans that we are not happy with where we are right now, and we're committed to making this better. We have, as a group, to come together and be more consistent in terms of how we play. So, this isn't the first time that the Knicks have had to apologize to their fans for being bad, for being one of the worst, for being what we now know as the Knicks. And here's my thing that I have with the New York Knicks. See, I've actually watched them play a few times this year. And every time I watch them play, it doesn't look like anyone has any idea of what they're doing. I look at their roster and I see a bunch of people, a bunch of players who don't belong there. I see a guy like Taj Gibson. Could be a good player for a playoff team coming off their bench, right? He's starting for the New York Knicks. I see a guy like Marcus Morris, who should have been in San Antonio, who would have been helping in San Antonio, but the Knicks paid him more, and now he's there. He doesn't need to be there. Julius Randle, the guy that the Knicks threw a bag at because they mixed out on Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant this year. So far, he hasn't been very good. He played decent last night, 20 points and 16 rebounds, but so far this year, he's been struggling. So you look at the Knicks and they have players like that. And then you look at the Knicks and they have players like RJ Barrett. They have players like Kevin Knox. They have players like Alonzo Trier, like Frank Ntilikina, like Dennis Smith Jr. They have a lot of young talent. Mitchell Robinson. They have a lot of young talent. And then they have a coach. Who I respect very, very much, who I think could be a good coach for a team with the right players trying to do something different than what the Knicks are trying to do right now, which if the Knicks are trying to do something, it should be developing young talent, but they have this coach who, once again, all respect to you, David Fizdale, but how many players has this dude really developed? David Fizdale has never been known as a coach for developing young talent. And then you look at the way the Knicks are being ran, you look at how they're playing on the court, and you can clearly see that David Fizdale is not the guy who needs to be developing young talent. I don't know why, but sometimes Alonzo Trier barely struggles to get off the bench, only gets out of the garbage minutes. You look at Kevin Knox, their lottery pick from last year, he's been coming off the bench, he really hasn't been progressing much. You look at Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Ntilikina, a lot of these guys have not been progressing with the New York Knicks. And they're bringing in these veterans like they're trying to make a deep playoff run. I'm not 100% sure what the heck's going on here. If the Knicks have any idea what it is that they're doing or what direction they're heading in. They're telling their fans they're going to be putting a good product on the court, but then the fans look at their roster and know they're lying. And then when the Knicks finally get exposed for lying to their fans by their play on the court, they have to come out and apologize, and it's an endless cycle. This stuff happens every single year. And I know Knicks fans are tired of it because at this point I'm tired of it. So I don't know what to tell you, Knicks. Until you change who is at the top, this is never going to stop. Other games of the night, we got the Philadelphia 76ers snapping their 3-game losing streak versus the Charlotte Hornets. Still no Ben Simmons in this one, as he has now missed consecutive games with his shoulder injury. Joel Embiid, though, 18 points and 9 rebounds on the night. The Milwaukee Bucks barely managed to edge out the OKC Thunder. 121-119 the final score, and Giannis at halftime was clearly frustrated as he destroyed an OKC Thunder sign. Did say that he sent a check to pay for it after the game though. He only had 11 points in the first half, but that changed in the second half. He scored 24 of his 35 points of the game. 35 points and 16 rebounds for Giannis. He also got some help from Eric Bledsoe though, who had 25 points and 9 assists. The Portland Trail Blazers got the 124-113 overtime win over the Atlanta Hawks in the battle of Trae Young versus Damian Lillard. Young with 35 points and 10 assists on the night, but not to be outdone, Damian Lillard erupted for 14 points in the fourth quarter to finish the game with 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists as the Blazers snapped their 4-game losing streak. Nikola Jokic has been clutch so far this season. He still really has been playing 100% up to Nikola Jokic standards yet, but when it's mattered, he's been there, and he was there last night to get the Nuggets a 100-98 win over the Wolves in overtime as Jokic sinks the shot with just a couple seconds left to go to seal the deal. 20 points, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds for Jokic, while Towns, on the other hand, had 25 points, 16 rebounds, and 6 assists. The Indiana Pacers have been playing some pretty good basketball. They're now 6-4 after their 0-3 start. Their latest win being a 109-102 victory over the Magic. Domantas Sabonis is a player that I really like. 21 points, 16 rebounds, and 7 assists. The guy knows how to play the game. But not only him, Malcolm Brogdon. I still think the Milwaukee Bucks made a massive mistake letting this guy go. 19 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds. And just imagine how good this team is going to be once they do get Victor Oladipo back. Now though, the last thing that we have to talk about today. And this was a game that I was also looking forward to, but it was kind of weird because I was looking forward to it, but then once it started, I kind of wasn't. The Toronto Raptors versus the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, as I turned this game on, I was greeted with the news that the Raptors were going to be shorthanded last night. That they weren't going to have Kyle Lowry, they're not going to have Serge Ibaka, and they didn't even have Patrick McCaw. Upon hearing that, and seeing as how they were going up against the 7-1 Lakers with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, I was prepared to turn this game off somewhere in the third or fourth quarter because it was going to be a blowout. Now the Raptors have been playing good, but once again, you're without Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, and even Patrick McCaw against the Lakers. How on earth could this end up being good, especially since the game was being played in LA? That's what I thought. Still, I watched the game, was watching the game, first couple of seconds, first few minutes, I thought I was going to be right. The Lakers looked like they were going to run away with this thing. And then something started to happen. You had guys on the Toronto Raptors that I've never heard of starting to step up. Take a listen to this. Who's heard the name Chris Boucher? How many of you have never heard the name Chris Boucher? No one on the Los Angeles Lakers or in the Staples Center last night, besides the Toronto Raptors players, have heard the name Chris Boucher, but he was massive in this game last night. Scored some of the biggest 15 points I have ever seen. And not only that, on the defensive end, this dude was doing something special. 3 blocks for Chris Boucher, but not only him, an undrafted rookie by the name of Terrence Davis II scored 13 of the biggest points that I had ever seen. Also made a couple of nice passes, a couple of nice defensive plays, grabbed some big rebounds. These are guys who rarely or barely get to play for the Toronto Raptors, coming up big and allowing and helping the Raptors to stun the Los Angeles Lakers in LA 113-104. Raptors are 7-2 on the year now, people. They lost Kawhi Leonard, but they're still looking like a threat out in the Eastern Conference. And I say they lost Kawhi Leonard, but that's actually kind of funny because the couple of times I've watched the Raptors so far this year, I see another Kawhi Leonard developing on their team. I see another guy who seems like the spitting image of Kawhi Leonard just a few years ago. OG Anunoby. This dude is going to be special. Take a look at a comparison between OG Anunoby's third year in the NBA and Kawhi Leonard's third year in the NBA. 13.8 points per game, 6 rebounds, over 1 block, and 1 steal per game. How similar is that to the numbers that Kawhi Leonard was putting up in his third year? And when I say this guy is one of the best defenders, wing defenders, young wing defenders in the league that I have seen, I mean it. He was doing a great job of preventing LeBron James from getting his offense going last night. LeBron did have 15 assists, but he was held to 13 points on 5 of 15 shooting. OG Anunoby and the Toronto Raptors are still playing some great defense. And this is a guy who, once again, to me, looks like the spitting image of a young Kawhi Leonard. Now, will he ever be as great as Kawhi Leonard? Well, who can say right now? But if you remember, Kawhi Leonard coming into the league wasn't nearly as great as Kawhi Leonard. Not too many people at all were hyped on this guy during his first, second, and early on to his third year in the league. You'd have to be a Spurs fan or someone who followed the Spurs of the NBA very closely to have been hyped about Kawhi Leonard back then. That all changed when he won that Finals MVP later that year, but still, Kawhi Leonard coming into this league was not nearly the offensive threat that he was. He was drafted as a guy who was very raw on the offensive end, had almost no offensive ability, but had massive hands and stood out on the defensive end of the floor. OG Anunoby seems the same way. Doesn't have the big hands, but he's a dog on the defensive end. He has a freaking tank of a body, and I'm excited about his future as long as he continues to progress how he's been progressing. With all of that said though, now it's time for the player of the day, the portion of the video where you guys can vote for who you think was the best player in the league last night by clicking the little eye icon in the top right hand corner of the video. That being said, here are today's nominees. You have Nikola Jokic and his 20 points, including a game winner, 7 assists, and 6 rebounds. Damian Lillard and his 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. Giannis Antetokounmpo and his 35 points and 16 rebounds. Devin Booker and his 27 points and 9 assists, or Pascal Siakam and his 24 points and 11 rebounds. Like I said, you guys can vote for who you think was the best player in the league by clicking the little eye icon in the top right hand corner of the video. That's gonna do it for today though, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Once again, before you go, make sure that you leave a like on this video, as well as that you are subscribed to the channel with post notifications turned on, so once again, you don't miss out on more videos like this every Monday through Friday. That being said, until tomorrow, keep getting the buckets, Team SDC, and I'm out of here. Peace!